Chewy Varmagen. Agus felteróide isteach. Is me sé droin. An bhfuil tú go má. Are you well? Good Monday morning, guys. And gals. And especially the ladies. Because this video is for you. It's about you. It deals with women within Celtic culture, within Gaelic culture. And how it's very different for our ancestors as it was within certain areas of the world, like the Mediterranean, of which, if you haven't guessed, that's half of my bloodline. Deal with it. So what inspired this video was basically just referencing some books, writing something for somebody, and I noticed that I had 4 books referenced, and I thought to myself, you know what? All these authors are women. Every time I do a video, every time there's a friggin' train. Maybe it means something, besides the fact that my family helped build the railroads here. But I thought to myself, how strange this is, given the fact that academia at large has always been still kind of is, male dominated, which is totally wrong. Like, why would a woman not have anything to say? Why would, what she has to say not have any value to it? And according to my ancestors, of course she would have something to say. What she would have to say, what she would have to share to teach us is extremely friggin' important. All we have to do is look at, the lore, our mythology. I hate calling it that, by the way. And look at our goddesses. Look at Bríod. Look at An Morrigan. Look at Maha. Bibe. Look at people like Queen Maeve of Connacht. Look at our history, Grace O'Malley. Look at Granuaile. She was a pirate queen. I think it's our job as men. There's that saying, you stand behind the person, which I think implies some sort of support. I don't like that. I don't like when a woman stands behind a man, and I don't like when a man stands behind a woman. And I'm speaking metaphorically here. I think we stand beside each other. I think we hold hands, Or given the position, back to back, I got your back. The point is it's a symbiotic relationship. It's supportive. It's supportive in a way where the person isn't self-sacrificing themselves for the other. I think all too often, throughout history, in American history, in colonial America, And even under, foreign occupation, the Gael experienced the concept of women being second-class citizens, where it was never like that for our ancestors. Women could be of equal status. They could be queens. They could be female druids, a bondri, a female poet, bonfili. Well, that's poets, bonfila. We never really faced Roman occupation, Roman invasion within Ireland. But we had oppression through, well, the Normans, the Vikings, the English under Cromwell, the EU. But at one time, it was very reflective that the Gaelic past had a direct root to the ancient Celtic past of how women were viewed and honored within the Celtic culture. I think today, more and more people are embracing this idea of women's equality. It's slow in many areas, but all we have to do is look right here. A woman wrote this book. Now, if I did something like this and didn't show you the name, and you never knew who the author was, and you read the book, would you be making a judgment? You would say, hey, that book was pretty awesome. So are we making judgments based on sexuality? Are we making judgments based on gender? Are we making judgments on someone's picture on the back of the book? Well, yeah, we do. Lots of people make a judgment. We do it every day, all day long, whether we realize it or not. We make all sorts of judgments. I'm going to go to this cashier versus that cashier. I'm going to do this or that based on X, Y, or Z. The point is we shouldn't be making certain judgments. So we have a woman wrote this book. It's an amazing book. And then we get to, that's Morgan's book. Well, one of them. Morgan has how many books? Look her up. Look up this author, okay? Can you see that? You can see that. Look up this author and just see how many books she has. Okay? Amazing, right? And then we'll cover Ellen's book. Whoa, the lighting is bad. Another author who is a woman. Here's another one. Another kick-ass book by a woman. And just like in the last video, another kick-ass book by a woman. So we're seeing more and more, within the Celtic realm anyway, that the lady folk, our sisters, our mothers, our grandmothers, we're honoring the sacred past. We're honoring our cultural sacred past by taking on this information from these authors that are women is equal to, and oftentimes better, many of the authors that are men. Now, I could pull up 4 or 5 books here by men and say, look, these are fantastic authors. And I can pull up 4 or 5 books right now by authors that are men and say, never read these books. Ever. But you know what I don't find? I don't often find books written by women that I say never read this book. I think it's very important that men, teenagers, adolescents, young boys learn the value that the role of the woman places within our culture. And that role is a sacred one because it fulfills lots of roles. I've seen women step outside of the box, learn and grow and evolve over the years into, I don't even have words for the beauty of who they are now. I've been very fortunate to have been a man that was raised by women. Now, my mother raised me, but she kind of really didn't. She was a single mom. We won't go down that path. But my grandmother was the main influence, the main person that was always there. I was fortunate enough to have a lot of girlfriends growing up, and I don't mean in that way. I mean, I had, both. I had a lot of friends that were girls, and I also had, a lot of women that I loved. And there was something to learn from each friendship. But I've always felt very close with women. A very emotional type of a man. Like in touch with my emotions. Art, music, poetry, such and such. So I've been very fortunate to have had some amazing relationships with women. And a couple of relationships, very few, that still to this day are kind of sour. But they all stem from childhood, from grandmother, from my granny. Got the man bun up. And if you don't like man buns, well, then you can fuck off, because most ancient cultures, men did wear top knots of some sort. And you can take that to the bank. The value that women gift to us in who they are, and what they do, and how they do what they do, and the sacred feminine, is often bastardized, demonized, is, within shadow of the man. And I think that's wrong. Look at Queen Boudica of the Iceni. There's so many examples. Now, there are books on Celtic women. There is that that path to take, with lots of titles regarding that. But even during a time when Rome favored the dominus of the house, places in the Celtic world, especially in Ireland, had rules and had laws, social, political laws in place for a very long time that protected women, pregnant women, women that would have been raped, women that would have been beaten. Even if you had a marriage which had more than one woman, even the, I don't want to say lesser women or the concubines, but the other wives, even they had protection under law. The elderly, the handicapped, the child, the sick, these people had protection under law. That didn't exist in ancient Rome, or the Roman world. And once more, within our culture, a woman could be a judge. She could be Brehan. Now, it is true that there were female Celtic warriors. We don't know how much of this is inequality. Not every woman feels the passion or the desire to want to go to battle. I think the option was there for them if they wanted to train as such, and to do that was, of course, it was welcomed. It's not like they were like, well, you just can't. Well, you can follow the men along and you can cook for them, but you can't go into war. You can't, you can't wield a blade. I think it's a very Indo-European thing that certain pockets kind of develop differently than other pockets. You definitely see it in Germanic culture. You definitely see it in Celtic culture. Probably even with the Slavs and the Balts. The concept that women could also go to war. The idea that there are warrior goddesses. It's not this archetype of masculine, feminine. And that's, I think, where I'm driving home on this. There's not a duality, if you will, of sun and light is masculine and moon is feminine and passive and cold and dark. It doesn't have that dichotomy of the relationship of opposites. Men can be many things. Women can be many things. Made up of many attributes, of many qualities. So when we stand beside our women, we stand next to them, or if we're fighting back to back, protecting them, or they're protecting us, we need to realize that within Celtic culture, within Gaelic culture, that the woman's voice is magical. Now, I pray over my children every night. Every night, they go to bed, we tuck them in, we have a family routine, and I wait till they're sleeping, or they're just dozing off. And the last words they hear from me are Naguelga. And I pray over them as they're falling asleep, sometimes as they are asleep. But picture the difference of hearing a female voice versus a father's voice. Just the sound of, the tonation of the voice. Imagine a mother's whisper. The mother's soft hand on the face. Most kids cry out for mom. So, with the American standard date of Mother's Day coming up, I want you to focus on the feminine in your life. If you are a man, focus on your inner feminine attributes. Okay? Focus on them. Project that and acknowledge that from what's happening in the natural cycle around you in the world of nature, because it's Bealtaine. What is the feminine in Bealtaine? Okay? Now, for the men, do you have a sister? Do you have any cousins that are female? Is your grandmother still alive? Is your mom still alive? It's Mother's Day. Do you have friends that are mothers? Reach out to them and honor them. Try to put yourself in their shoes for the day at least. See what it's like to be them. It's a lot harder than you think. Now for the women, this is for you. Excuse me. On the same goal here. Honoring your sacred feminine. What does that mean? Your sacred feminine, where does it come from? Where's the wellspring of your femininity? Where do you get your girliness from? Where do you draw your strength and your power from your womanhood? What inspires your womanhood? What's your connection with your sisters, with your daughters, with your mothers, with your grandmothers? So Bealtaine is not past us. Bealtaine can still be tied to our modern calendar as May 12th, when the hawthorn blooms, when the cattle go back to summer pasture. So those of you that feel like you missed it, you didn't miss it. Pay attention to your local agricultural season, because it can be different every year as well. The hawthorn doesn't bloom on the same date every year. For those interested, I will be happy to list a couple books. I'll pin a comment below or something like that. And I'll throw a couple book titles up if you guys want that deal with Celtic women. There's something very sacred about honoring the feminine that I think a lot of cultures skim over, they pass it over. Now within, witchcraft, modern paganism, and even Wicca, there's a large focus on the feminine, more so than the masculine, which I think there's an imbalance there. You have this, most women you don't see many men that are Wiccan. You see a lot of Wiccans that are generally female. And it's a very big goddess culture. There's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is that they're not paying tribute in equal form to the masculine within their system. But that's their system. It's not mine, so my opinions shouldn't really matter. But within Celtic culture, within Gaelic culture, when I say Celtic culture, it means the Gauls of France. It means, the Welshies. It means the Gael, For us, sacred femininity, sacred female roles within society have always been present. They have taken a back seat for far too long. And with the authors that I shared, I highly suggest that you look into the books that I showed you, along with the other titles they have written and published. So, everybody, let us honor and embrace the feminine within ourselves and within those that we love for this upcoming Mother's Day, which could also be celebrated as Bealtaine. Wishing you guys all the best. Have a great day. I'll chat with you soon. Slongafol.